Hello, friends. Welcome to Coding Garden with CJ. Welcome to This Week in JavaScript. So the plan today is to talk about JavaScript news and all the things happening in the world of JavaScript. Our plan is to kind of just look through Reddit. So I have Reddit sorted, r/JavaScript sorted by the top stories in the past week. We'll also take a look at the JavaScript weekly issue. Nice to see you too. And we're going to take a look at bestofjs.org. So this is going to be a pretty chill stream. We're just going to be looking at what's happening in the world of JavaScript. If at any time you have some news, feel free to share it in the chat. We'll maybe talk about it. But yeah, welcome in, everyone. Happy Friday. Hello, hello. Yeah, we got some first timers in the chat. Thanks for being here. If you've never sent a message here on the Coding Garden, just say hi right now. I'll acknowledge you. What we got? Ron Bruce Official. How's it going? What's up, Anjert? And Dine Chantal and Red Lip Beauty and Only Fox. Hello. Hello. Thanks for being here. Everything's going to be all right. Thank you, Kuzi, for that tier 2 sub. And thanks to Bladbeat with the 6-month resub. I guess yesterday. Sudoku with the 11 months. Default GN with the 5 months. And Kuzi with the 22 months, reminding everyone that everything's going to be all right. I appreciate that, Kuzi. I really do. Universe Codec, how's it going? First time here? Nice, nice. Welcome, Lurker. Do I know when the state of JavaScript publishes its survey? I don't, but when it comes out, we'll have to take a look at it for sure. Well, thank you, Lukto. Thanks for being here. Yeah, welcome in. What's up, Chris Tech? Real Pygon says, I've been asking people this question. Did you know that Microsoft never announced an end of life of the Internet Explorer engine and plans to support it through 2029? Meaning like IE 11? Or like all the way back to IE 6? There's no way, right? Like IE 11? IE 9? I didn't know that, and that's crazy. What's up, Emelastra? Yeah, thanks for being here. Shout out to our friend Emelastra. Earlier, our friend Trash Dev is here. Shout out to them as well. Check them out. And welcome, Ron Bruce, who is new. Not entirely related to JavaScript, but I'm really excited about the new element. What new element? Can you elaborate? Yeah, welcome in, everyone. Edge with Internet Explorer mode. The Internet Explorer engine is integrated into Windows 11. Huh. Beer Bandits, hello. Ron Bruce is asking, what does drop mean? It's prime time to explain it. So throughout the stream, you can type !drop me, and that, will drop your avatar from the sky like that. And if it lands in the garden, you'll get your name on the screen for a little bit. You can also drop emotes and emojis, or if you just do drop without anything, you'll be a little seedling. That's what that thing is. Yeah. Yeah, Microsoft is crazy if that's the case. Yeah, I mean, I guess it makes sense because there are a lot of enterprise customers that like can't upgrade to Edge or whatever, but still, it makes it so that as web developers, we still kind of have to support it in certain instances. I don't know. What's up, Samit? You learned web development from me. Very good, very good. You got a job at Cognizant Technology. Nice, congrats on that. The element of suspension. What's up, Universe Codec? The Trident rendering engine. Okay, so yeah, so not necessarily the browser itself, but the rendering engine, which I guess is used in Edge, right? Dialogue element. Oh, the chat remove. Oh, I see. My chat overlay stripped out a potential cross-site scripting attack. I've never heard of it. Is it on Can I Use? The dialogue element. Oh, well, I'll have to take a look at it. I don't know what it is. Nice, School Gaming. Glad to hear it. Some quick swarm intelligence. Does anybody have a suggestion for a lightweight Node.js MySQL job queue? I don't have one. I don't have a suggestion. Feel free to suggest something in the chat if you have one. Okay, we're going to get right into it. I'm only going to be live for maybe an hour, hour and a half. Got other things to do. But for the next hour, hour and a half, I'm here with you all. Let's get into it. The first thing that I'm excited about is Vue.js has switched the default version to version 3. Look at this. It's actually really interesting. So I haven't looked at any of these posts or anything like that, but they're linking to this thing called Knitter, which I guess is a form of Twitter. They're like relinking a Twitter post here. Very interesting. But regardless, from the official Twitter account, from the official Vue.js Twitter account, Vue 3 is now the default version, and the brand new Vue.js.org is live. Let's check it out. We're gonna have to at least scroll through it and see more details in the blog in case you missed it. Cool. So if you are unfamiliar with Vue.js or you haven't been keeping up, version 3 was released probably over a year ago. But it wasn't the official version. Like version 2 was still what you would get if you went to the docs at Vue.js.org. And now it's official. Now when you go here, it's all about Vue.js 3. So for those of you that don't know about the upgrade, basically Vue.js 3 introduces this thing called the composition API, which is similar to React hooks. But before you get out your pitchforks, you can still write Vue.js the way that you're used to. So you don't have to use the new composition API. You can still write it the old way. There are some breaking changes in terms of like how the app is set up, and if you're using like more advanced features like certain directives and stuff like that, you might have some breaking changes in your app. But other than that, you can pretty much upgrade without any breaking changes. I believe Vue 3 was a full rewrite in TypeScript. I don't know if I'm right about that, but let's take a look at their blog post. Potentially required action. So this is probably, yeah. So if before you just had this script on your page, that was referencing Vue 2, but now this script is going to reference Vue 3 because it's the default, and that's if you're bringing it in from a CDN, which is a less common use case, I think. So you have to be explicit if you want version 2. The latest tag now brings in 3 instead of 2. That's good to know. Cool. Yeah, so they did do a soft launch of Vue 3 about a year and a half ago, and we've done composition API stuff here on the stream. But let's read about what's coming. What's here in Vue 3. So it has Vite powered build chain. So you might have seen on stream. I've tried Vite before, and I guess I tried it with React, but there were some issues with like builds and auto refresh and stuff like that. Hopefully it's not that same way with Vue. But I think we're going to need to generate an app just to check it out. There's a more ergonomic composition API syntax. So I've actually demonstrated this on stream, but I'll show you that in just a second. We'll generate an app and I'll show you like some of the basic things you'll see in Vue 3. Improved TypeScript IDE support for single file components via Volar. That's really interesting because Vter used to be like the recommended plugin for Vue, but now it's Volar, which is interesting. I think somebody had me install it last time I was using Vue. Command line type checking for single file components. Simpler state management with Pina. That's interesting to check out as well. I've heard of it. People told me to try it. It's really just seems like a stripped down version of like Vuex state, and a new DevTools extension with Vue 3 support. So it's great. I think in light of this, we just need to generate a Vue 3 app and see what happens. So here we go. I'm gonna make a directory this week in JS, and then we're gonna go in there, and then I'm gonna make a directory called February 11th, 2022. Like that? It's the second month? Is that accurate? All right, I'm gonna install the Vue CLI globally just to make sure that we have like the latest version. Cool, and I'll see if I missed anything. Or do you no longer use the Vue CLI, or does the Vue CLI use Vite now? We'll see. I might have to use Vite instead. Vue 3 was quite a rewrite from Vue 2. I believe like the internals were, but a lot of the code can remain the same. Like your old Vue 2 code can remain the same. Yeah, you can still write the old way with a few exceptions. And what's up, Limotes? Thanks for being here. Soon Vuetify will support Vue 3. Yeah, that's another thing. And so one of the things about the Vue.js 3 soft launch is there were a lot of community libraries. So like Vuetify this. So is probably one of the most popular component libraries for Vue, but they don't yet support Vue 3. You can see that here, but Vue 3 support is coming soon. So that'll be really good once they support it fully. You can use it like in beta, I believe. Oh, look at this! You can Code Fledger was mentioning you can swap right here, so you can actually change between the options API and the composition API. Let's see if we can find an example where it flip flops. No. Here, the activity fundamentals. How about this? Huh? Oh, okay, yeah. So you can see the old way. The old way is known as the options API, where you have like a data function and a mounted function and a methods function and everything else. Whereas with the composition API, instead of options, you now have a single setup function where you then import individual functions that you can use to have the same behavior. Like reactive will create some reactive state or data. There's computed, which will create a computed property. There's mounted, which you can pass a function and it'll get called when the component is mounted, that kind of thing. So that's great. Yeah, and that's the thing, like right now, because all of the most of the community projects are still on Vue 2, so it's really rough if you've already started with Vue 3, because there is a lot of stuff that just doesn't exist there yet. Yeah, and slowly ranking. Thank you for that Prime sub. Much appreciated. Yeah. Thank you, Spiral Double Helix. Also do Vite new / Vue. Huh. Yeah, it's really tricky. If you were picking up Vue 3 for a new project, like there weren't many component libraries that actually would work with it, which is tricky. Okay. Let's see what this gave us. I mean, maybe I should probably just read the docs so it could tell me how to generate an app. npm init at Vue. This is what I'm going to do. So at least what I used to do was Vue create. Let's see if it gives me the same. No, I believe this is the old way. I believe. So I'm just going to run this command. Init Vue at latest. Okay. My project name. Vue 3 demo. Do I want to add TypeScript? We'll do a quick poll. I'll be honest, I don't. But one of the benefits of Vue 3 is it has like first-class TypeScript support. Or I'll do a 1-minute poll. TypeScript or no? Yes. No. You have 1 minute to vote. Go. You don't want to, so you know chat will vote yes. Well, I think there are some people here that don't have an opinion, so they just go with what I say. Option 3, always no. Cool. I can always just use the any type on everything, right? Right? No. I mean, it looks like TypeScript's going to win. Well. Yeah, so no TypeScript would basically be... And I'm vanilla-ish. It still has to be run through Webpack and all that good stuff, but yeah. Yeah. No, that's exactly how I feel, Only Fox. Like, in the real world, yes, TypeScript. But we're not in the real world right now. We're in my basement where I get to do what we want. But in this case, we're going to use TypeScript. All right, TypeScript, here we go. Do I want to add JSX support? No. I showed this in the past. So if you look at some of my past Vue.js streams, you can actually use JSX in your Vue components. So if you're coming from React, you might like that. Add Vue router? Yeah, let's go. Add Pina? Come on. Vite test? Not right now. No Cypress. Yes, ESLint. Yes, Prettier. Wow. The old Vue CLI did not used to ask about Prettier. Okay. Here we go. We go in. We install dependencies. And see you later, Code Fledger. Thanks for dropping in. Yeah. I mean, JSX in Vue is fine. There are just certain things you can't use, and you have to do it like the JSX way or the React way. So like you can't use v4, you have to use a map like you would in React. Yeah. Gangster Superman is asking, is it easy to upgrade from Vue 2 to Vue 3? It depends. I think for the most part, you can swap out the library and then you'll just have to change a few things. But for like library developers, so people that were making projects that you could use in your Vue project, they probably have a lot more changes that they have to make because some of the internals changed. What do we have? npm run dev. Here we go. Wow, it's so fast. It's Vite. It's so fast. Nice. We've got ourselves a Vue 3 app. Okay, so there are, I guess, two main things I want to show. I want to show the script setup, and then we should play around with Pina and like get some state going in there. But let's take a look at the code that got generated. All right, got a bunch of stuff here. We've got a Vite config. And actually, I'm going to make sure that I have this Volar extension. Well, I'm going to disable Viter if it's enabled. I'm going to uninstall it, unfortunately. And then Volar is the extension. Yeah, I have it installed. Great. TypeScript Vue plugin. Oh. Okay. So yeah, and so that's one of the other cool things about Vite is it is extremely fast because of some of the things that it's doing. Like essentially, it is what do I want to say? There are certain build processes that it doesn't have to go through like it would with Webpack because it just lets the browser use its built-in feature. So like if we look at the source code of the page here, you can see that it has like script type module. And then if you click on it, you can see that, I mean, it's been transpiled, but it didn't have to do like a full Webpack style build. It can still use like benefits or things built into the browser to get things going. Okay. So there's our Vite config. Don't need to worry about that. It's interesting that index.html is in the root, but I guess that's just how Vite apps work. But yeah, so you can see that it's referencing the main file there. And then if we look in source main, so it gave me ESLint and it gave me Prettier, but it doesn't seem like they are cooperating. I'm going to go ahead and create a Prettier RC. Can you do prettyrc.js? How does Prettier RC work? Like this. Parcel does the same. It'll fall back to, I actually don't know. But it might. I like a 2-space tab. I like semicolons and I like single quotes. Actually, we should see what they do. They don't have semicolons by default, so I'm gonna disable that. All right. Well, is there a Prettier RC in my package.json? All right, I'm not going to worry about it, but if I were working on an app, I'd worry about it because right now Prettier and ESLint aren't working together. Regardless, we can create the app, we can create our Pina store, and then it does all this stuff. We can take a look at app.vue. It's interesting that by default, they're putting the script tag at the top. It used to be by default, the script tag was below the template. It doesn't matter where you put it. Yeah, without the JS, it likes it. Because then I could do module.exports. I mean, this would be Prettier RC. I mean, like I said, I don't want to worry about it because it's not important, but let's just try this. Nah, doesn't matter. An Acid Spark, thank you for that tier 1. Okay, so that's interesting. Cool. Then we can take a look at the components folder, and then I guess the store got set up for us. So I've never actually used Pina, but it's very like a very succinct version of like Vuex. So you define a store. It has some, has I guess an ID. You have some initial state, which is a function that returns an object that has all of your state variables. You have getters, which are kind of like computed properties, and then you have actions, which can modify your state and can likely be like async, do asynchronous things. So that's cool. Just to demonstrate some stuff, let's just make a simple little Reddit clone that lists all of the JavaScript news on the page. So here in the app, we get rid of the hello world component. Get rid of all this. Great. I'm actually just going to get rid of... Whoa. It's doing CSS imports now, too? That's new-ish. So if we look at assets, base.css. Cool. The Vue CLI never set things up this way. You kind of had to just figure out your own styling in terms of like where to put your CSS files and stuff like that. So the fact that it's creating one by default is pretty cool. But I'm going to delete it. So, there goes that. Let's get rid of all of these styles. And so this loads the router view. And then if we look at the router, it has two routes, home and about. That's fine. We really only care about the home route, and that's where we're going to put all of the code that we write. So it's bringing in a component, it's putting it there. Great. Let's make a request to Reddit. So first off, we will import ref, which is a way of creating a reactive variable from Vue. And then we can say something like post is a ref of an empty array. So post starts off as empty. And then let's do like a mounted hook. So on mounted, we will make a request to the API. So right here, I'll make this an async function so I can do a fetch. We're going to fetch Reddit, and we're specifically going to fetch this URL. Can I just put .json on it? Yeah, that should work. Is onCreated a thing? Yeah, so the reason I didn't do onCreated is because script setup is basically your onCreated. So typically you can just put code inside of the setup function. However, because this is like top level, I don't think I can use top level await. Let's try it. I don't think it's going to work though. So if we fetch this, will this work? Let's see. Look at the console. It works. You can use top level await. That's amazing. So that makes the code even easier to look at. So that's great. Okay. Wow. Okay. Awesome. Here we go. So we get the data back from Reddit. So we'll do json.data.children. So we'll say right here, post.value equals json.data.children. And then we can use it. So right here in the template, I'm just going to have a div that I repeat for every post in the post. We'll give it a key, which is post.id, I think. So why set up in script? So I'll finish coding this example and then I'll show you how you would do it if this wasn't there. But basically this mix lets you do this as like kind of a shorthand. But yeah. Property ID does not exist on type never. This is why I don't want to use TypeScript. We could do something fun though. We could generate some types based off of this. Let's do it. We could do a JSON to TypeScript. Let's copy all this raw data and then generate some TypeScript interfaces. So paste that in, JSON to TypeScript. Nice. All right, we got ourselves some interfaces. Let's put them somewhere. So let's create a folder called interfaces. And then I'm just going to call this interfaces.js. And then just we'll export a bunch of stuff. Oh, they're all exported. Cool. And then it's not JS, it's .ts because we're in TypeScript. There are actually a ton of websites that do this, but this one specifically is jsonformatter.org. Yeah, so .ts is what we want. Let's fix all that. And I think specifically what we want is child. So the data is of type child. So we could say ref, which is an array of child. Like that. But this helps us because now this is like, instead of saying it's never, we can actually dial into it. So this is going to be post.data.id. Look at that. We get some autocomplete. That's pretty nice. I mean, I had to generate the interfaces, but that's pretty nice. Okay. Hey, what's up, Kim? Thanks for being here. All right. So for every post in the posts, we're going to repeat this div, and then for now we're just going to put the title inside of it. So this should be, let's look at this autocomplete, post.data.title. Great. All right, that's it. That's our app. Fresh. Nothing. So we've got our app, and there's nothing inside of it. Why? So this is an array. It has a bunch of data in it. Great. I'm setting the value here. Well, let me show you how this code would look without setup. Am I missing anything obvious? Does anybody see anything obvious that I'm missing? Oh, and thanks, Ryan. Yeah, so there are some other sites that do it, but if you're ever working with TypeScript and APIs that you don't have interfaces for, apps like that will work really well. Does the render part of the code waiting for the fetch to complete? Well, that's why I have the await here. So this is how I'm gonna fix it. So I'm gonna show you what this would look like without script setup. So what you do is there a define component? So instead of script setup, you do something like this. You say export default define component, you pass in an object, and then inside of there, this has a setup function that all of our code goes inside of. And then in this case, setup would be async, and then this just needs to return an object that has posts inside of it. Like that. Let's see if this changes anything. It's just, I mean, I would expect to at least see a bunch of divs here. Yeah. We could use reactive, but I am setting post.value, which should overwrite it. Let's try with reactive. Oh, it's possible my build is failing. Oh, you know what? Well, no, I don't see any errors. But here's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to change this to be like this. And then we can say state.posts equals that. And then we return state. And then in our template, it'll be state.posts. Okay, am I missing something obvious? Like, this is crazy, right? So, I mean, this component is running. If we look in the console, the code is running. It's logging the API response. So whenever you're using a ref, you don't have to do you don't have to do dot value in the template. Restart the server? Check my data structures? I mean, so I know that the home view component is loading because I see that code there. One thing we can do to really debug this is to get rid of router view and then just do home view. Home view? It's funny that it put that on the end there. And so now we just do the home view like this. Yeah, see, it's still loading it. Let's try putting this in mounted, but I swear I've never had to do I guess the top level await could be messing with this because I don't think I've ever used top level await. It's never mounting? Why is this happening? All right, we're going to go back to script setup. We're going to go back to this. And then instead of top level await, we're going to do an async iffy. Like this. It didn't like the top level await. While it worked and it didn't have a compile error, the top level await was the issue. Okay, so strike that, reverse it. This is what we get. So we're getting all of the top posts from Reddit. Okay, so the things to note here are the fact that we have this script setup thing. So we define our state variables here. We can reference them in the template here. One thing that's really interesting to me is the fact that we have so much cool autocomplete. So like the fact that I can do like post.data. All this stuff, like there was slight support for this in the past, but never this good and this easy. And that's thanks to Volar and probably in the fact that I'm using TypeScript, but you would likely get at least a little bit of autocomplete even if you're not using TypeScript. So that's great. Let's put this all into Pina now. So yeah, and I showed you a second ago, basically script setup is a shortcut or a shorthand for exporting an object with a setup function that ultimately returns an object, and anything that's in that object will be accessible from inside the view. So what the code we had before is functionally equivalent to this, and this should still work. It still works. Great. But now, again, we're going to go back to script setup because it looks cooler. Does it still work? It still works, great. But now I'm going to move the state into Pina. So if we take a look at our store, this is our counter store. we're going to create a Reddit store. So we're going to give it, we're going to call it use Reddit store. It's going to have an ID of Reddit. The state is a posts array. We don't need any getters, and we'll have an action which says load posts, and then we're going to move all of our code into here. So this right here is going to go into our Reddit store, or into this load post action. And I believe we get access to the state. So if I do context dot, I need to look at Pina, because what happens in these actions? View and TypeScript, yeah. All right, we've got an action. Oh, it's this. I don't know if I like that. I mean, okay, sure. And James Quick, thank you for the raid. Yeah, so we're doing a news stream. We're doing a JavaScript news stream today. And what I'm excited about is Vue.js 3 is now like the official thing whenever you go to the Vue.js docs. But yeah, thank you for that raid. Shout out to our friend James Q Quick. What were you working on today? Not raid. Shout out. You're talking about contributing to open source. Nice. Definitely go drop a follow over there. Learn some cool stuff. Okay, so what we're doing right now is we were refactoring this component to pull the stuff into the Pina store. So we have our post array. We have an action which will load posts. Great. Now we need to use this, and all we do is just import this thing into the component it needs to be used in. So right here, and actually I can pull this into here to say what type it is. So posts, so this returns an object with a posts array, which is of type child, like that. Yeah, TypeScript is weird. If you're not used to TypeScript, it looks really weird. Okay, so that's our deal there. And then now I just need to import this into the component right here. So I'll say import use Reddit store from store/Reddit. And then I can just say posts, right? Equals use Reddit store. Is it that easy? Has no default export. We'll export it default. I might have to go to the docs. So, actually, let's just see. Oh, I didn't save it. Let's see what we get back from this. Oh, .state.posts. I guess I probably shouldn't strip it off. It should just be state and then state.posts. Okay, I'm just gonna look at the docs. Defining a store. We've done this. Use the store. This won't work because it breaks reactivity. Ah, okay. I can handle this. So this is just store. And then this is store.posts. Like that. Or not. Or not. Maybe it doesn't work with script setup? Store to refs? And then we can just reference posts. Oh, I'm not calling the action. Oh, I'm not calling the action. I need to actually call the action. Yeah. Okay. So now we can do a store dot load posts. That's the way. There we go. Okay. Great. So the refactor here, we took all the state that was in this component, we put it into its own little store here, which is nice. I mean, you just define some state, you define some actions, you modify the state, and then you get a little hook to bring it in and to use it. View 3 is great. Definitely check it out. I did that for way longer than I wanted to, but that's in the news. View 3 is now the official thing you'll see whenever you go to the Vue.js website. And I recommend you check it out. Yeah, I am not live on YouTube right now. No. All right. Wow, that took a long time. Let's find a couple more news stories. So first, I'll just say this was shared in the chat. Someone said they were excited about the dialogue element. I have never heard of it. Let's see if it's on MDN. The dialogue element. Is it like an alert box? Represents a dialog box or other interactive component, such as a dismissible alert, inspector, or subwindow. It's like a modal. Does it need JavaScript? Let's see. I'm just gonna make a super basic web page that just has a dialogue on it. Not in all caps. Greetings, one and all. All right, let's see what you got. Yeah, I think it's more of a semantic. It's more of a semantic element, right? Because it just shows on the page. You can open and close it without JS. So when we click the update button, oh, you do .show modal. .show modal brings it up. I guess is it? Oh, and it's hidden by default. Okay, I think I get it. You do need JavaScript to open it. So by default, if I don't put the open attribute on there, it's not on the page. But if I have a button that says say hello, I'll have to add some JavaScript. I mean, we'll do it like this. So when you click this, document.query selector dialog .show dialog. Oh, show modal? Show modal. Show modal. Show modal. Thanks, everyone. Huh? Ah, nice. And then you would have like a close button here that closes. I like it. That's pretty cool. It's just built into web browsers now. And according to Can I Use, you can use it in Firefox, Chrome, Safari, Edge, all the browsers that matters. So that's nice. Yeah, and it's nice and centered. I didn't have to add any styles. Yeah. That's great. That's a good thing. Who mentioned that earlier? That's cool. I hadn't heard of it yet. Awesome. All right, let's pick a couple more news stories. We'll take a look at some of the hot projects this week on Best.js, and then I'll have to take off. All right, this is the #2 post over the past week on r/JavaScript Tooljet, an extensible open source low-code framework. Completely built using React and Nest, connective databases, cloud storages, GraphQL, endpoints, etc. Alternative to Power Apps and Retool. I haven't heard of either of those things. Everything you need to build internal tools. So it kind of seems like a data aggregator dashboard builder. Is that what this thing is? Low code framework. They're using buzzwords, but seems fine. how Tooljet works. You have all these data sources, they go into Tooljet, and you can build dashboards and applications with them. That's cool. What does it take? Creating a new application. Yeah. Sorry to go backwards. Question about stores. Where is the data stored? By default, in Vue and even in React, like your state is just in memory. It's not actually persisted anywhere. So if you refresh the page, all of that state disappears. It's called the store because it's a global store for your application. But unless you explicitly put it in session storage or local storage, it's going to disappear when the page refreshes. Yeah, it's just memory. Yeah, memory. Adding a data source. There's a data source manager. This seems cool. Honestly, this seems cool. We'll have to take a look at it on another stream. I don't want to like dive into it right now. But the idea that you can just like spin up the app, add an existing data source, and then just start querying on it. It's kind of like, it seems like it's kind of like Tableau, if you've ever heard of Tableau, but it's completely open source. So this seems cool. Tooljet, it seems cool. Let's keep moving. No JavaScript fingerprinting, right? I don't know what this is exactly, but it sounds interesting. So if you're not familiar with fingerprinting, it's about to fingerprint me. Essentially, this is used by a lot of advertisers and tracking scripts on the web. Essentially, they will, I mean, I don't know if this is going to give much away about me, but essentially, they'll analyze what APIs are available on the specific page. So, like, do you have Canvas? And then there's a thing known as Canvas fingerprinting. And there's various things that they can do to get a bunch of metadata about the specific web browser that you're using and in this case, they're doing it without JavaScript. And then they can use that to track you across websites, even if you don't have like cross-site cookies or third-party cookies. If you have a unique fingerprint that's the same regardless of where you visit on the web, then advertisers can target you more. And usually you need JavaScript to do that. Like a big part of fingerprinting has to do with like the Canvas API and stuff like that. But apparently, this is not using JavaScript. So fingerprinting is a way of identifying browsers without the use of cookies or data storage. Created using properties like language, installed fonts, your fingerprint stays the same even if your browser is in incognito mode. Though I will say, I think Firefox does things to prevent it from being the same in incognito mode. Let's see. It's the same. Oh no, we're being tracked. Oh no. This demo further illustrates that fingerprinting is possible even without JavaScript and cookies. To verify this, disable JavaScript and then refresh your browser. Okay, let's look at the source. I'm interested in the source code. Like, there's got to be like a server-side component of this, right? Like, what's it doing if it doesn't have any JavaScript? Yeah. Okay, so this is a backend. The fingerprint stays unaltered. Even if you're in desktop, even if you're spoofing the user agent, even if you change the IP address. My goodness. Okay, it's interesting that it's open source. You can look at it to see what it's doing. Apparently they don't exactly have like a quick write-up on how exactly it's doing it. It's making a bunch of HTTP requests. That's interesting. Let's take a look at the network tab. How to avoid this kind of tracking? I don't know, honestly. It is server-side rendered. Like, there's no JavaScript at all. First of all, use an ad blocker, and also I use a tracker blocking script called Privacy Badger. I also have cookie auto delete, which deletes cookies from websites that I have not whitelisted after I close tabs. However, this is working without JavaScript or anything else. So yeah, you're being tracked for sure. But let's take a look at the network. Let's see how it does this. So if I refresh the page, oh my goodness, it does it with images. It does it with images. So there's a bunch of images on the page that have their SRC set to so there won't be any XHR because there is no JavaScript. So if we go here, boom, nothing. But basically, if we look at the source of the page, there's likely a bunch of images. Yeah, they use CSS to set a background image of an element, which then makes requests to their backend with a unique ID. Is the ID always the same? Smart. Yeah, it's really cool. It's really cool. Yeah, so this is almost like a session ID that's in the CSS. And then it makes a bunch of requests to their backend that it's doing analytics on, especially like loading fonts and stuff like that. This is crazy. Yeah, this is crazy. It's cool that they're showing that this is possible, but you better believe that like advertisers are going to use this to track you across the web. So that's a thing. So now just disable CSS, disable JavaScript, disable CSS everywhere you go. All right, that was scary. Let's find a more uplifting story. I created a resource to help explain what exactly a design system is, the features that can compose one, and tools to help build one. Cool. This doesn't seem specific to JavaScript, but looks like a cool site. Yeah, disable your internet. Basically, just stop using the web. Designsystem.tools. What is a design system? A design system is a collection of resources used to standardize design throughout an organization. It acts as a single source of truth by documenting a design language, which is used to create reusable resources. Cool. Got a design language. A component library. This is interesting. I think this just breaks down what you need for a design system. Cool. Alka, are you saying, so what's new because we're being tracked on the web? Is that what you're saying? Or are you just saying in general what's new? Because not much. I'm kind of lacking sleep. I don't know. Is that JS fingerprint a service being sold to company? Yeah, I mean, if you just look at JavaScript fingerprinting, there's likely Fingerprint.js, the highest accuracy device identification for mobile. So this is a service. Like somebody is selling this and advertisers use it. 99.5% accurate. No, in general. First of all, Vue 3 is now default when you go to vuejs.org. And that's about all we've talked about because we talked about that for a long time. That's what's new. Yeah. Well, thank you, Dane. Thanks for being here. All right. What's the next news story we got? Since my driver video was well received last time, here's another, building an SD card driver from scratch. All right, this guy deserves a shout out. He has a YouTube channel called Low Level JavaScript, and he does really low level things with JavaScript. And apparently this one is actually like he's writing a device driver using JavaScript alone. Yeah, so definitely sub to this guy. He's got some super interesting videos. Let's just look at some of the other stuff he's done. And it's all with JavaScript. How parser combinators work. JavaScript is weird. Actually, this is good. This is a good one. Is this the one where he shows how like you can basically just use like special characters? Yeah. You can use like brackets and everything else to run code, to write code, essentially. Yeah. So he shows how you can write basically a generator for this kind of code. Basically, you can turn any JavaScript, like a Vue.js application or a console log code, you can turn any of that into a sequence of brackets and parentheses and plus signs. I think it's this, yeah. So don't say the F word, but I think it's this. But he wrote his own version of it. Let's see. Okay, yeah. Here's the hello world. No. You're fine, because I mean, there's no way around it. Like, how else are we going to talk about it? But yeah, so we execute this code here. And it just console logs hello world. Oh well. But definitely check him out on YouTube. So he wrote a device driver in JavaScript. That's awesome. Cool. Let's take a look at this extension, and then we'll see if there's anything fun or interesting on JavaScript Weekly, and then we'll take a look at one or two of the hot projects in JavaScript. Cool. So this one, I made a VS Code extension that helps you refactor JavaScript. Let's see what you got. I want to see this from the beginning. So refactor pull out. Okay, but pull out's it changes a plus equals to the former. Refactors it into a return. Apparently there are a lot of built-in refactorings. Honestly, my first impression of this is like, how would I ever remember to use this for refactoring? Like, most of the time, I would just do this by hand. Of course, I mean, that's what the tool is for anyways. But that just seems like a lot. There's 67 automated refactorings. Numeric separator. I mean, it's a lot. I feel like if you can get used to using it, it would be useful, I guess, obviously. But it seems like a lot of refactorings to remember that you can use. So seems interesting, though. Definitely check it out. And all of this stuff we're talking about is coming from Reddit. All right, let's take a look at the JavaScript Weekly newsletter. See if there's anything interesting to mention. Oh, this is an interesting story. Okay, so it says, move over JavaScript, how some backend languages are coming to the front end. You might think this is about using WebAssembly to run Python in the browser, but no. It's about the growing popularity of maintaining a WebSocket connection to a backend process and rendering HTML on the fly from the backend, as seen in Elixir and Rails. I actually didn't know that Elixir and Rails can work like this. But imagine the web page loads, a WebSocket connection is initiated, and then the server renders something, sends it over the WebSocket, and then JavaScript on the client replaces it on the page. Interesting. Yeah, it's a really long article. I'm not going to read it on stream, but let's see if there's anything I can just like click on really quick. Yeah, live views. Phoenix live view workability. Yeah, so Phoenix, wait. Phoenix is an Elixir thing, right? But this is kind of like a roundup of other languages and how they're doing it. So Blazor apparently is doing something similar. I didn't know that. Yeah. So Curious Dive is saying it uses Signal R. So Signal R is like the .NET way of doing WebSockets from the backend. Cool. There's live view closure. There's a lot of ways. This is interesting. I mean, I feel like this is probably kind of the future. I mean, like, most of the apps that I build these days are single page applications, right? We have an API backend, which just responds with JSON, and we build our front end completely separate, and then they communicate. I like to build apps that way. It works really well for like cross-platform apps. So like if you have a web app and a mobile app and a desktop app, they can all use the same API, that kind of thing. And that's probably one of the biggest reasons why I like doing it. But if you were to do something server-side rendered and you have like a really beefy backend, your pages could potentially be faster if everything is happening from the server side. And just streaming the updates to the client versus having to do a bunch of round trips with API requests and such. So, interesting. All right, that's all I'm going to say about that, but I'm definitely going to give that article a read later. C# Fritz was off. Yeah, so shout out to our friend C# Fritz. He does Blazor all the time, I believe. Yeah, Blazor server. Definitely check him out. Cool. All right, anything else to mention? The JS Party Podcast. Never heard of it. Now's the time, I guess. A weekly celebration of JavaScript and the web. They're live on Thursdays. Cool. I'll have to check them out. Oh yeah, this is something I did want to try out. So I think I mentioned it last stream. Yeah, there is no party like a JavaScript party, exactly as it's Park. But I think I mentioned it last stream. Fetch was introduced into Node. And so apparently, if we're using Node version 17, we can add a feature flag and use Fetch inside of Node. Let's do it. So I use a tool called NVM, Node Version Manager, and that should let me install version 17, because right now I'm on version 16.13. Yeah, so I just installed Node version 17. In a second, I can now use it. So there we go, I have version 17. Let's write some code that uses fetch. Fetch node 17. Yeah, so I have to do the experimental flag thing, which is I'm going to try to encapsulate that in the package.json. So let's say we have a file. And again, I'm just going to make the request to Reddit because it's easy. So if you go here, .json, you get back a JSON response. Great. Let's do it. I think you just fetch equals require fetch. Is that how that's going to work? My editor doesn't know that this is actually a thing. And then I probably can use top level await, right? Because we're in node 17. JSON equals wait response.json, and then we'll log the JSON. Great. So this is Node.js code. I think I broke everything because I have top level await, so it's not complaining about that. But if we want to run this, so if I do a start script, I should be able to do node some experimental feature thing index.js. Yeah, so with top level await, you actually don't need async. Let's see if this code works. We're on the bleeding edge right now. Bleeding edge. Oh, no. I don't want to do that. I want to do NVM start. Await is only valid in async functions and the top level bodies of modules. Oh, I have to use a module. Let's use a module. Why not? Let's use a module. I think I can just do MJS. It's global? You don't have to require it? Crazy. Yeah, it's interesting how it's global. I mean, I imagined it like another module, like because you have to require the FS module, even though it's like in the standard library. Wow, look at this. So we're probably like a year away from being able to do this in your Node.js code directly. But yeah, I'm just I mean, first of all, the fact that we don't have to require it in. Second of all, we've got top level await, which I haven't really used much. And just fetch. Look at it. No, I mean, I'll go ahead and talk about it. Like, I probably will still use Axios because here's the thing. If I try to make a request to this, you'll see that it actually parsed the response, but it didn't throw an error. I would expect that if my API request returns a 404, I would want it to throw an error. And so with fetch, the way you handle that is you can say something like if response.ok, if it's okay, then parse it as JSON, good to go. Otherwise, if the response wasn't okay, you probably need to look at the content type header and determine if the error response was JSON, and if the error response was JSON, then you parse it as JSON. It's a lot of work. Whereas with Axios, all of that's built in. It just does all of that for you. Though, what's interesting about the combination of the two is that Axios could potentially use fetch as a transport. So under the hood, Axios is using fetch, but it still has all the error handling and stuff like that. Oh yeah, it has try catch, of course, but let me show you, it doesn't throw an error. Because technically the response was successful. It's just that it was a 404 response code. So this is not going to throw. Yeah, see, it didn't throw. It parsed it as JSON and logged it. So I mean, if you wanted it to throw, you could say if response.ok, then we do this. But if it's not okay, then first of all, you would check the header to make sure that it is JSON, because a lot of times APIs will throw a 404 response, but it won't actually be JSON, so this would fail. But now I know it's JSON, so I'm going to do this. And then I could do throw new error, something like response.status text. Let's do this. So we could create an error object like this. We could throw that error object, and then we can attach like a response JSON property to it, which is the actual parsed JSON response. So we can get the error there and the error dot response JSON. So this is how you'd have to do it, something like this. So that actually throws an exception. We log it out and we get the response JSON. Cool. Great. The fact that we can use fetch is awesome. Okay, that's all I'll talk about there. And then let's try one of these hot projects from Best of JS. Oh yeah, and hello, I am just here for something. Who says, what does software and game development mean? So yeah, I mean, if you've arrived at my Twitch channel, somehow you've made it to the software and game development category. Who is JavaScript? That's funny, Acid Spark. Node version 20, Axios built in. RLCraft? What is RLCraft? I don't know what that stands for. But yeah, if you click on this category, there's a lot of people writing code and doing like development. Some people are writing games, though I will say, probably, so the Primogen, I don't think is doing games. He's doing like coding problems. T-Soding looks like he's doing some. What is that? Is it Rust? I don't know what it is. I don't know, but I don't think he's making a game. Lana Lux is doing game development. But yeah, but people are actually like writing code here. That's a thing. Yeah. The Primogen is doing Dr. Disrespect cosplay. Let's see. Wait, I thought you couldn't show Dr. Disrespect on Twitch. Didn't he get banned from Twitch? Yeah. Actually, I think this already exists. There's like if you search the web for like multi-Twitch viewer. Oh, just in general, the Primogen is Dr. Sure, I could see it. All right, regardless of all of that, welcome to the software and game development category. I appreciate you being here. Everything I say makes me more confused. Yeah, so today specifically, I mean, we're talking about more advanced stuff, but I will say that every now and then, I do more beginner-friendly things and like how to code kind of things. So yeah, thanks for dropping in. We appreciate you. Can we get some hearts in the chat for I'm just here for the L-craft? What is L-craft? Cool. Yeah. All right. So next thing we're going to do is we're going to take a look at one of these projects from hot projects on bestofjs.org. So this is a website that like ranks and lists projects based on their number of GitHub stars. And so I'm going to do hot projects this week. So we've got Medusa, which is an open source Shopify alternative. I saw this on Reddit a few months back. It seems interesting. It seems like it's not exactly at feature parity yet with something like Shopify, but it is open source, which is nice. I think like one of the one of the really useful things you get with Shopify is like automatic shipping label generation, and it like integrates with what do you call it? Shipping providers like UPS and USPS. This might have that, I guess, like as a plugin, but I think the last time I looked at it, it seemed pretty tricky to get started. Yeah, I mean, it's just redirecting back to GitHub. What is Magento? So Magento is another open source e-commerce platform. It's built with PHP. Typically, I mean, people that are using it aren't necessarily writing custom PHP. I guess maybe you are, but you really just install it and then you get it. You get a content management system and like e-commerce store. I mean, I think it's fine that the documentation is in GitHub. Oh, here it is. Here it is. This is what I want to see. So integrations. We've got content management with like Strappy or Contentful, file uploads, payments, and then I don't see an integration for like shipping label generation, which is, I mean, it's probably somebody's probably working on it, and it is cool that like an open source project like this is in the works. So yeah. Okay. What else we got? So in8in is a free and open fair code license node-based workflow automation tool. Is this like Node-RED, or is that what it's called? Extendable workflow automation. Yeah, it's kind of like a drag and drop programming. So you have like your triggers, your actions, your inputs, your outputs, and then it like generates the code behind the scenes. Seems cool. All right, what else we got? Atari. This is the thing we tried to look at a long time ago, which is a way of building desktop apps, but with Rust, right? Yeah, with Rust. Though I will say, let's see if we can get it going. Last time where we got stuck was I couldn't install GCC. But I will say in my spare time, I've been dabbling in the world of custom embedded firmware. And so I don't think I got GCC installed, but I got something else installed. I don't know. Let me see if this doesn't get hung up. Yeah, and let's talk about that while this thing is trying to install. I have cameras. I have security cameras that are they were like maybe I forget what I installed, but that's right. But I have these security cameras that they're from Wise. They're Wise version 2 cameras, and by default you can't get an Rtsp stream out of them. So let's talk about some stuff. Imagine having cameras. Yeah, so Rtsp is real-time streaming protocol. And this is actually how I'm streaming to Twitch right now. So I have a whole setup here that's sending an Rtsp stream out to Twitch, and that's how you all are able to watch me. But IP cameras, you can use this protocol so that you can bring their streams into like a dashboard of all your cameras. But specifically, this camera that I have does not have Rtsp streaming built into it. You just have to use the proprietary app provided by the company, which is based out of China, and like they store clips and stuff in their cloud. I basically wanted to have I want to use that same camera, but all on my local network without reaching out to their company. So someone started a custom firmware that you can flash to the camera that basically removes all of the pre-existing stuff that like talks to the company servers, and makes it so that it's just a super simple like embedded device running a certain version of Linux that just spins up an Rtsp stream, and you can pull the stream in from it directly. But the firmware needs to be not illegal. No, I mean, if you own the device, you can flash custom firmware to it. I think we made it farther than we did last time. Yeah, so basically, custom firmware, all that means is you're taking the software, the operating system that's on the device when you buy it from the manufacturer, and replacing it with a custom version. Yeah. How is it allowed to be stolen if they steal data? I mean, they're not necessarily stealing data. You acknowledge the terms and conditions, and it's likely in their terms of service they mention what they do with the data. But for my home security camera network, I don't see a reason for it to go out to some third-party company. I want it just all here on my local network. Cool, but yeah, so specifically, I have the Wise Cam V2, and the thing is, I bought these a long time ago. These. They're tiny little cameras. At the time, they're like $25 now. They might not sell them, I don't know, but I have a bunch of these, and I got them because they were super cheap. They stream in 1080p. They have two-way audio. They have IR, all that good stuff, but they don't have a built-in Rtsp stream because specifically, I want to bring the streams into this project called Frigate or Frigate. Home Assistant, yeah, which can take in a bunch of camera feeds and determine if people or certain objects are detected in them. And then that integrates with Home Assistant, because Home Assistant is basically a way of doing like self-hosted home automation. So basically all my cameras will be tied into Frigate, who will be doing like person detection. And then if it detects persons, it can send a push notification to any device that's hooked up to Home Assistant, and it's all on my local network. It's not hosted by any company. So that's that. I think this is getting a little bit further. I don't think I want to wait for this though. Rtsp is purely software. Yeah, so basically the embedded device has a way of accessing the camera device. Like it can get the stream of data coming from that camera, and then Rtsp is just a specific piece of software that takes that camera feed and sends it over the network. Yeah. I lost you at camera. What do I think about Veet? Veet is cool. I was actually pretty impressed by our experience with Veet this morning. So yeah. I haven't done any custom OpenCV programming. No. I'm looking into acquiring a Raspberry Pi to get into some home automation stuff. Have you got references or recommendations to get started? I would recommend, honestly, if you have an old laptop sitting around that has better specs than a Raspberry Pi, just put Linux on it and then use that for all your home automation stuff. Because, I mean, I guess I never got the Raspberry Pi 4s, which have more RAM and like better hardware. I have just a bunch of Raspberry Pi 3s, and they really slow down. That's the one. That's one of them, actually. Yeah. So that's what I was talking about, Noxy Boy, is putting custom firmware on it. And this is the one that I started with, but I actually ended up over here at this project called OpenMiko, which what's nice about this project is the GitHub repo is completely set up for you to build your own version of the firmware. So like, I don't know if this one, like this has the modded firmware and you can flash it, but this specifically has the entire build system. So you can directly modify the firmware, and it's all set up in Docker containers. So you can rebuild the firmware after you've put your modifications into it. So this is the one that I'm using. Cool. Where were we? What was I talking about? Oh yeah. Yeah. So if you do get a Raspberry Pi and you do want to put Home Assistant on it, you can take a look at their docs. Yeah, we had to do that because we get bots and stuff like that in the Discord. So this at least makes sure that you're a real person. You got to read this whole message. You gotta click on stuff. So yeah. The make step is where it hung last time. Oh yeah, that's probably it because it was on CMake. But I guess honestly, I might just leave this running for the rest of the day because I think it's actually doing something. Because some other stuff that I installed with Brew had to do a similar make process, and it took 30 minutes or so. I don't know. Cool. But yeah, I was talking about, so if you really want to just get started with like even like learning about Linux and stuff like that, if you have an old laptop at home, just throw Ubuntu on it. You can start learning about Linux. You can install Docker on it. I mean, I guess it depends on the CPU that the laptop has, because I believe it needs virtualization enabled to be able to use Docker on it. And so that's actually what I'm doing right now. I have an old Lenovo Y570. This thing that I bought a long time ago. And this is actually what's running that Frigate software that I mentioned, because it has a video card in it, and it's a better machine for like doing a lot of processing. It's a thick boy, yeah, but it's fine. It's in my server cabinet. It just sits there. It's fine. And then I had an IdeaPad E something. Oh, ThinkPad. Yeah, and this is another old laptop that I have, and this laptop is running Home Assistant. Pretty soon, though, I'm going to have one big beefy machine that's running everything, but old laptops are a good way to get started with all that stuff. And Yami, thank you for the Prime sub. I missed a bunch, actually. Let me go through all of these now. Slowly Ranking, thank you for the 5 months. DeCallers with the 6 months. Acid Spark with the 22 months, who said they overslept. That's okay. Leet Geek, thank you for the 11 months. Pranjal for the 7 month, who says, thank you so much for building this community. Always learning something new, and your stream makes me feel happy. I'm glad to have you here, Pranjal. Thank you. Karison, thank you for that Prime sub. Nuki Poo with the 18 months. Thanks again, James Q Quick for that raid. Anizer with the 3 months. Harriet with the 6 months says, love your stream, it's shown me so much and can't wait to see what else you do. Hope one day you can see one of our projects. Oh, thank you, Harriet. And Pablo with the 16 months, watching you in quarantine with my significant other and my newborn. My significant other and my newborn son got COVID? No! I'm still negative, but I'm starting to feel sick. Pablo, I'm wishing you the best. Can we get some hearts in chat for Pablo? Yeah, hopefully they recover quickly. And hopefully you don't get too sick. But my thoughts are with you, friend. And Jim McDonald, thank you for the 21 months. And Yaomi, thank you for that Prime sub. Okay, I think I'm going to end it there. This was pretty fun, talking about the news and such. I think we'll do this probably like once a month. GCC is still not installed yet. I'm literally going to leave my computer plugged in and let it finish installing. Because I feel like it's going to take a while. But yeah. So I don't know of any courses where you can learn lower level stuff. I would say check out some of the people that are streaming here on Twitch. If you look in the software and game development category, some of them are doing lower level stuff. But yeah. React 18 stream? Maybe? Cool. Yeah, it's plugged in. Oh, you took a week of vacation? I guess that's good, but it's unfortunate that you have to take vacation to be miserable. You know what I mean? Because like you're sick, but you took vacation days. I don't know. Best of luck, Pablo. Yeah. Do I need Xcode command line tools for GCC to work? I have those installed because that's one of the things that I got set up. I don't know. I'm not going to worry about it. I got to go. Thank you all for hanging out today. This was super fun. Be sure to check out, was it JavaScript Weekly? Yeah, JavaScript Weekly is where we got some of the news. Some of the other news we got from Reddit. We also got some news from Best of JS. and some news from people in the chat. So thank you all for participating. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next week. I'll be streaming again next Friday around the same time. Cool. Yeah, and T-Soding, I think he's live right now. He's doing lower level stuff. I don't know if it's C++, but it is lower level. Yeah, and thank you for being here. I'm just here for the Elcraft. I realize you found me randomly, but thanks for sticking around. Cool. Yeah, stay awesome. We're gonna raid, so here are our raid messages. If you are a sub, you can use that raid message. If you're not a sub, you can use this raid message. You can also come up with your own raid message. Be unique. And I don't know who we're going to raid, but whoever we raid, show them lots of love. Drop a follow if you like what they're doing, all that good stuff. All right, wherever you are in the world, have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, or night. And until next time, here's this. bear with me. I'm trying to find somebody to raid, but I'm looking at like low viewer streamers, so we can go show some love over there. So just give me a second. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. I think I just found somebody actually working on Atari. That's the thing that I was installing GCC for. We're gonna raid them. It's gonna be great. Stick around.